Now, the history of the Kabbalah and its practitioners the story is stranger than fiction. And we're going to go back to the 14th century and talk a little bit about a mystic who was instrumental in perpetuating the secret knowledge in the satanic occult practices of today. This brings me to a man named Abra, or referred to as Abra Melon, the mage. Now, mage being a magician, wizard, or sorcerer. And I want you to remember this man's name, because as we proceed here, it's going to be important. Born 1362, died in 1460 in Germany. Now, he was an expert of the Kabbalah and proclaimed that he was taught magical knowledge by angels. You see, the foundational practices of Kabbalah is invocation of spirits. According to Abramelin, angels told him how to conjure up and tame demons to become his personal servants and workers. Today, his magic is referred to as Abramelin magic. Now, I can only wonder if this is where we got the term abracadabra. Now, according to this mage, or better said sorcerer, the magician must invoke the 12 kings or the dukes of hell. Some of the names of these dukes of hell include Lucifer, Satan, Leviathan, Belial, and others. So they invoke these dukes of hell, and then, according to Abramelin, bind them. In the binding process, the magician then gains control over them. These dukes of hell are then commanded to deliver to the sorcerer a number of familiar spirits that will serve him. The practitioner is promised, and get this, ability to find buried treasure, cast love spells, the ability of magical flight, and I'm presuming that is what is referred to today as astral projection, and the secret of invisibility, quite possibly referring to today, what we call today remote viewing. Abramelin also provided an instruction on how to cross into the abyss. Now, this man's instruction in invoking evil spirits would become one of the foundation of future Kabbalistic practices in Freemasonry circles in the 19th century. Okay, now, in 1854, a budding young occultist named Alphonse Louis Constance, who would later change his name to Eliphas Levi, was introduced in London, according to his biographer Christopher McIntosh, to what was called the International Network of Occultists, which would become the catalyst for the resurgence in the study of Kabbalah. This man's works would later be translated to English by a man named S.L. McGregor Mathers of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1899, and we're going to talk more about this Order of the Golden Dawn in a moment. Now, get this. McIntosh writes that Levi's most important event during his time was his famous evocation of Apollonius of Tyana. Apollonius of Tyana, according to Lena Blavatsky and Alice Bailey, was a 3rd century personality that Jesus of Nazareth was reincarnated to after his death. And these people, friends, really believe this. The Bible refers to this conjuring of the dead as necromancy, and this too is an abomination in the sight of God. Eliphas Levi was perhaps the most famous 19th century, the most famous occultist in the 19th century. And in case you are not aware, he is the creator of the infamous evil image of Baphomet, which he utilized for the cover of his book, Dogmas and Rituals of High Magic. Levi's work, his guide or instruction for sorcery and invocation of evil spirits, would become the foundation for the practice of 19th century Freemason. Now, on a side note here, Aleister Crowley, and I'm sure you're all familiar with that name, the man deemed the most wicked man that ever lived, believed that he himself was Levi's reincarnation. So the Kabbalistic based knowledge of Abramelin the Mage and Eliphas Levi would ultimately become largely responsible for the revival of the interest in the secret mystery schools in the 19th century. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, founded in 1877, was an offshoot of the English Rosicrucian Society, which consisted primarily of Freemasons. The Golden Dawn founders are Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers and William Wynne Westcott. Now, Westcott was a coroner, okay, how befitting, a ceremonial magician, and a Freemason born in England. Westcott would go on to author books such as The Order of the Rosicrucians and Freemasons, The Occult Powers of Numbers, and The Introduction to the Study of Kabbalah, to name a few. Now, his books supposedly revealed the sacred ritual operation by which a magician or spiritual aspirant, or better said, wannabe, might prepare for and invoke and finally meet with his supposed holy guardian angel. Now, know this: these practices have nothing to do with anything holy. Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers was one of the more interesting co-founders of the Order of the Golden Dawn and a major figure in the founding of the order itself. He would instruct the society in the rituals performed within and eventually become head of this organization. Now, an interesting side note is that he met Helena Blavatsky prior to founding the Golden Dawn. Blavatsky being a self-professed Luciferian who also claimed to channel ascended masters, which of course in reality are evil spirits. You see, this man too claimed to have derived many of the teachings from a group of superhuman adepts, or what he referred to as secret chiefs. You know, I read somewhere that there was one woman who belonged to the Order of the Golden Dawn. Now, this is quite extraordinary because at that time tradition forbid it. Now, nobody knows for sure who this one woman is or was, but it's my guess, and it's just speculation on my part, that this one woman was indeed Helena Blavatsky. Okay, now getting back to Mathers. His literary works included translations of several important occult texts, such as the English translation of a book called The Key of Solomon, which is a European ritual magic book titled The Kabbalah Unveiled. He also translated a book called The Book of the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage. Now, according to my research, this is perhaps the most significant of all ancient secret texts in Kabbalistic circles. But his most infamous contribution lay in the central role that he played in the establishment of the occult ceremonial magic called the Golden Dawn tradition, still in use today. Mathers was also instrumental in formulating instruction in the occult meanings of the Tarot. Much of what we know today about the Tarot or interpretation of the Tarot comes from Mathers. So let's take a look at the next clip.